No, because let's talk about it. Don Bluth had so many projects that I would pay good money to see that were just never made or had to be dropped due to Disney. Like this commenter said, he was intending to do a version of Beauty and the Beast and had been workshopping it since 1984. However, production of the film was delayed by his other two works, An American Tale and Land Before Time, and so by the time he got around to actually wanting to make it in 1990, Disney had already announced their version. Because of this, he had to shelve the project as he knew he couldn't beat Disney to the punch. In the early 90s, he also wanted to make a version of Dracula, and the person who was going to be writing the script for this version? Joss Whedon, the writer of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The film was eventually dropped because they couldn't figure out how to make Dracula a sympathetic hero, but a couple of years later, Joss Whedon released a show called Angel. I'm sure that has nothing to do with anything, though. Another film that people don't know was originally going to be a Don Bluth film was Ice Age. It was originally conceptualized as a 2D animation film, and it was going to be a bit darker and have more of an action and dramatic oriented tone. However, they decided to take it in a different direction and make it into a 3D animated film and have it be made by Blue Sky. Another film that haunts me is one that was going to be made right after The Secret of Nim. It was going to be called East of the Sun and West of the Moon, and it was going to be based on the Norwegian folktale, which would have focused on a young peasant girl who was forced to live with a polar bear who was actually a prince who has been cursed by his wicked stepmother, and they were going to set off on a journey to find a way to break the curse. This was canceled midway through the production as Paramount decided to pull the funding very suddenly. Another film that was pitched that Don Bluth wanted to make was one pitched by Michael Jackson. It was going to be titled Strawberry Fields Forever, and it was in fact based on the Beatles song. Michael Jackson had recently acquired the rights to the songs, and he wanted to go ahead and make the film and pitched it to Bluth, who had agreed. But the Beatles refused to let them use their image, and therefore the production never even started. Other films that had been announced and possibly had some work done were an adaptation of Hansel and Gretel and an adaptation of The Velveteen Rabbit. I just know this one would have made me cry, and I wish I could have seen it.